This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us this Friday, February 19th. I am Ephraim Graham. Many in Texas who lost power after a deadly winter storm now have it back, but the crisis is far from over. Millions are now without one basic necessity, water. Caitlin Burke reports.
First, it was lights and heat. Now, millions in Texas face a new crisis.
The temperature in the house was 33 degrees, and now the power's back on, so it's warm, but we don't have any water. So I'm here to get water. I've been to several different stores, and no one has water.
Officials advising 13 million Texans to boil their water. The catastrophic power outages affecting water treatment plants across the state.
It was a fault of man whose responsibility it was to ensure that these assets were functioning in case something like this, 100-year freeze, if you will, would come.
Then there are Texans who don't have water to boil because their pipes froze while the power was out.
Been here up since 5 o'clock, and I've been on the road since 6. And I know it's at 11:30, but I'm going to sit here until, I have no choice. All the stores in my area are out of water.
In Dallas, this man's apartment was destroyed after his frozen pipes burst.
It just sounded, like a waterfall hitting.
Meanwhile, 500,000 people across 7 states are still without power. President Biden says help is on the way, with FEMA delivering generators, liters of water, blankets, and meals to struggling families. CBN's Operation Blessing is in Texas, providing hand sanitizer, blankets, and water, along with other items to winter storm victims. And starting today, Mercy Chefs is serving meals in Dallas and Fort Worth, as well as working to provide clean drinking water to other parts of the state. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Caitlin mentioned Mercy Chefs, and Gary LeBlanc from Mercy Chefs joins us now by phone. So, Gary, I understand your ministry is on the ground in Texas. Give us some insight into what they're seeing and what they're doing.
It's just, again, it's such an unbelievable thing. Folks are without power. There's no heat. They've lost water. We're hearing stories of people burning their children's wood toys or tearing fences apart to try and keep warm. And the pipes are just going to continue to burst as it thaws. So we're here doing the best we can to bring a little comfort.
Tell us about your situation, because you're traveling there, but I understand you had some trouble making it through the storm.
Yeah, well, we had teams coming in from every direction. So the team from the south got in okay. Our Oklahoma team got in okay. And we had people coming in from the west. They were all able to make it. I was coming from the east with a tractor trailer of food and some additional supplies. And we got stuck on an interstate here in Louisiana that's closed down. And so we had to spend the night on the interstate in the vehicles, and it never cleared. So we've turned around, and we're going to catch a flight, and I'll join the team there later today. But they're working hard. They're getting meals out as we speak.
How long do you anticipate being there, and is there a need for volunteers when you get there?
Well, we think we're going to stay as long as we're needed down here. Again, the immediate thing right now is hot meals and using our water purification units to make as much water as we can. And just to support the folks. But as these pipes continue to break, there's going to be a long-term recovery need. It's going to be like a giant flood situation that we're going to have to be available to respond to.
And as you said, being there as long as necessary. Just real briefly, can you remind folks about why you do what you do and the response that you see from the people when you get there?
Well, from New Orleans was my hometown, and after Katrina, I worked for the first time volunteering, and I just really thought there was a better way to feed people. I thought it should be a high-quality, handcrafted, chef-prepared meal, and that was the beginning of Mercy Chefs. And we just come alongside local folks. We partner with local churches to help them become the center of the community, and then just bring as much relief and comfort as we can. It's what I would want to have happen if I was going through what these folks in Texas are going through.
Thank you so much, Gary. We applaud your work, and thank you for, we'll be praying for you and your team as you're on the ground there. Thank you again. There's already fallout over what caused the Texas blackout. The big question is, could it have been prevented despite this historic storm? Other factors include government utility management and green energy. Dale Hurd brings us a closer look at why this situation could be a warning for the entire nation.
The power blackout in Texas has many asking how it could have happened to such an energy-rich state.
What is going on right now is completely unacceptable.
In Houston, the so-called energy capital of the world, residents lined up for supplies as officials told residents with power to boil water.
How can we boil water? We don't even have power.
We have been without power for 60 hours now and without water for about 24.
My family and I, we've been in the dark since Sunday.
The short answer to why the blackout occurred is that Texas wasn't prepared for what by Texas standards was an extremely rare, extremely cold weather event. Power station components simply froze and stopped working.
Every source of power that the state of Texas has been compromised, whether it be with regard to systems freezing up or equipment failures.
But the Texas power grid problem coming after the rolling blackouts in California this summer could become a pattern more states will experience, as experts warn that America's aging infrastructure, along with increasing reliance on green energy, causes electrical grids to fail more and more often in extreme weather events. A congressional study showed America's electrical reliability has been declining for decades and is among the worst in the developed world. Many cities, like New York, have trouble keeping up with demand.
Con Ed has the same issue that the rest of the utilities have, which is, they had never envisioned the kind of electrical growth that the city has experienced.
Experts say the problem is that maintaining and upgrading critical infrastructure is not a popular expenditure for politicians. Power grids don't vote, but the people who rely on them do, and America's increasingly unreliable power grid is starting to hit home. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Turning now to Washington, where President Biden is applauding the Equality Act introduced in the House yesterday. He tweeted it provides long overdue federal civil rights protections for LGBTQ+ Americans, preventing discrimination in our housing, education, public services, and lending systems. I urge Congress to swiftly pass this historic legislation. Critics say they are not against the civil rights for the gay community in the bill, but say the bill could infringe on all Americans' freedom of religion and speech. Matt Sharp with the Alliance Defending Freedom is here now with more on this. So, Matt, would you agree with those who say they aren't against the civil rights bill, but concerned about constitutional freedom of religion and speech?
That's right. Every person should be treated with dignity and respect, but they should also be guaranteed their constitutional freedoms. And so laws like the Equality Act undermine those freedoms and undermine fairness for countless Americans.
What exactly have you seen in this bill that you feel is dangerous?
I think one example is how this could impact women's sports. We've seen how in Connecticut a similar law was used to allow biological males to compete on female sports teams. And so now we're representing 4 courageous young female athletes that have lost out on championships, spots on the podium, and other benefits because of this inclusion of sexual orientation and gender identity into Connecticut's law.
With the Democratic-controlled House and Senate, will it pass as is, or do you think these concerns are going to be addressed?
I think these concerns are going to be very difficult because we've seen time and time again how in states that have passed these, religious freedom and speech and fairness are undermined. Another example was in Alaska, where a women's homeless shelter was forced to allow a biological male to come in, even though that they were trying to ensure that women, many of whom were fleeing sex trafficking or abusive situations, and trying to protect them. And so there's just a lot of problems with the Equality Act, which is why it should not be passed and why we need to focus on protecting our constitutional freedoms for every American.
So if it were to pass, how could it hurt freedom of religion and speech in your estimation?
Yeah, I think, for example, there's a lot of religious ministries and organizations that have deeply held beliefs, for example, about marriage. And so part of the concern is this going to require religious schools to violate those beliefs if they still want to have access to Pell Grants or federally backed student loans? And I think, again, those are just one of the many, many problems raised by the Equality Act that is trampling on religious freedom, not to mention the fact that it repeals parts of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, the bipartisan bill that President Bill Clinton signed many years ago. And this just shows the real nature of this is something that is going to undermine a lot of freedoms for a lot of Americans.
Real quick before we let you go, what do you advise people to do who are watching who want to somehow take action?
Yeah, obviously contact your elected representatives and speak out on this issue, and make sure that your own organizations and things like that know what their rights are and are willing to stand up and defend those rights. And that's why ADF is here, to stand with people that are wanting to stand for religious freedom, speech, and marriage and family.
Matt Schott with ADF, the Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up, a church is set on fire and more than a dozen people are killed in the Democratic Republic of Congo. See why Christianity is under attack there when we come back.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Radical Islamic terrorists struck the African nation, the Democratic Republic of Congo, killing 16 people and burning down a church. The raid happened February 14th when fighters linked to ISIS attacked the eastern part of the country. Human rights groups say the terrorists also destroyed a Catholic church in Ituri province. Islamic terrorists opened fire while entering the village, killing 13 civilians and 3 soldiers. The United Nations says more than 600 civilians have been killed in this province since May of 2020. CBN senior international correspondent George Thomas is here now with more. So, George, the UN says hundreds of civilians have been killed in this region, many of them Christians, I would imagine.
That's absolutely correct. And why is that the case? It's because the Democratic Republic of Congo, also known as the DRC, is 2/3 Christian. The majority of them are Catholics. And in this particular part of the DRC, Ephraim, it's the northeastern part of the Congo. You look at that map that you threw up there. It borders Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and this particular region of the DRC has seen a lot of conflict, partly because of the ethnic rivalries that exist in this corner of the country, but also it is mineral rich. The DRC is mineral rich on some of the most precious commodities, minerals rather, that the world requires, from everything from what makes your cell phone to car technology to satellite technology. The DRC is just filled with wealth under the ground. And so these places become conflict zones, and areas become conflict zones as various groups jockey for position and power.
Tell us about these groups launching these horrific attacks and what's their agenda.
Yeah, they are members of the Allied Democratic Forces, and they basically came into existence back in 1996 when I talked about these various ethnic groups that were fighting in the region, various militias banded together, and they've started, launching attacks in this particular region. They have a very clear mission, and that is to attack, kidnap, and kill Christians. They are part of an Islamist ideology, an Islamic agenda. In fact, ISIS, there's no sort of official link with ISIS, but ISIS has claimed responsibility for their various attacks in the Ituri province. In fact, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said recently about the ADF, this particular group, that they are part of a network that starts all the way in Libya and stretches to the Sahel and to the Lake Chad region. In fact, ISIS has declared the DRC as the Central Africa Republic affiliate of ISIS.
How is the church responding to what's happening there?
Well, as we have seen all around the world, where when people of faith, particularly Christians, suffer for their faith, they rise up, and it is no different in the DRC, especially in the Ituri region. A bishop there, a prominent bishop, sent the word to his community saying, "Listen, there are so many people who are hurting, members, loved ones who have lost family members, and this is, after all, the Lent season, which runs all the way till April, and they said, let's continue to show the goodness and mercy of Jesus Christ by reaching out to those who are suffering, by reaching out to our enemies, reaching out to those who are in need, and showing the compassion and the love of Jesus Christ." It's a remarkable story that in the middle of their persecution, in the middle of their suffering, they continue to be the hands of Jesus Christ, not just in the DRC Congo, but across the African continent, wherever people of faith, specifically Christians, suffer for their faith.
Real quick, less than 30 seconds. It may come as a surprise that despite these attacks, the Christian church there is exploding.
It absolutely is. Africa is seeing the explosion of Christianity from the tip of the southern of the continent all the way to the north. It's an incredible story. We've been documenting it on CBN News for many, many years. It really is sort of the untold story that God is on the move on this beautiful continent.
Indeed. George, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Minister and theologian Voddie Baucham Jr. is suffering from full-blown heart failure. He's known internationally and serves as the Dean of Theology at the African Christian University in Zambia. Baucham used social media to call his followers to pray for providential healing and for his wife and children as he walks through what he called the darkest valley in his life. He's known now in the United States at the Mayo Clinic in Florida for treatment. Still ahead, a major milestone for America's space program and exploration on Mars. Stay with us.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
we know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. American scientists are celebrating a big win this week. NASA made its first landing on Mars in nearly a decade. CBN national security correspondent Eric Phillips explained how this success is a big win for space exploration.
The last rover, Curiosity, landed on Mars back in 2013. Its goal to look for signs of water, which scientists say it accomplished. This mission will search for signs of past life on Mars in preparation for sending future life to Mars. I spoke with Eric Ianson, director of NASA's Mars Exploration Program, about the importance of perseverance.
Let me start by asking, why is this next step in the Mars Exploration Program so significant?
This is a really cool mission. Perseverance is a great mission. What we look to do with each of our missions to Mars is build on things that we've learned in the past. And this one in particular is going to study geology near the landing site, characterize the Martian environment, search for signs of ancient Martian life, and assess natural resources and hazards for potential future missions. In addition, scientists will use instruments aboard this mission to identify and collect samples of rock and soil for potential return back to Earth.
With this particular mission, I'm reading that you all may be able to hear some sounds on Mars for the first time. How exciting is that?
It's really cool. So in addition to the 7 science instruments that we actually have 2 microphones that are going to be on board. So we'll be able to hear the sounds that are happening during landing. I'm really fascinated to hear that, as well as the ambient noise that happens on Mars.
NASA's long-term goal is the ability to send human life to Mars by the 2030s. This mission helps with that. One key instrument on board is called MOXIE, which will try to capture Martian atmosphere and convert it to oxygen, making it breathable for humans. Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Coming up, from quarterback to outfielder, Tim Tebow is now taking his career in another direction. The story's next.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Watch On the Home Front today at 2:30. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Heisman Trophy winner Tim Tebow is now retiring from Baseball after 5 years with the New York Mets. Tebow returned to baseball for the first time since high school after being encouraged by the Mets team president. He said by reaching the AAA in 2019, Tebow far exceeded expectations and should be very proud. The All-Star thanked his fans and coaches for the awesome journey. CBN Sports Director and anchor Sean Brown is here now with more on Tebow's decision. So, Sean, was this decision expected in the sports world?
Good afternoon, Ephraim. You know what? No. If anybody knows Tim Tebow, we weren't expecting this at all. I mean, he's so competitive. He really wanted to take it to the next level with Major League Baseball. So, yes, it is a surprise. I mean, the guy has wanted this for so long, and he just doesn't give up. And so, yeah, it did come as a surprise for most.
Wasn't there some movement with Tim Tebow possibly getting to move up to the Major League team?
Yeah, I think he was actually supposed to be invited for Major League spring training this season, but for whatever reason, again, some things he just said, hey, you know what? It's time for me to pack it up, and he decided to retire. He showed some glimpses of greatness, but he just said, hey, I'm not going to move forward with it.
We know he's done a lot of things, including the movie world. What else is he planning to focus on, as we know he's a strong Christian and usually his projects reflect his faith? Any idea of where he's going?
Well, you know what? The things that Tim does on or off the field, you know, he's all about trying to glorify the kingdom. That's really what he wants. And so whatever avenue he chooses, that's what he's going to do. Right now, he had so much happening off the field. With some of the things that he's doing, visiting hospitals and speaking through social media and those kinds of things. And so I think that that's where he's going. And you also have to keep in mind, he's still a newlywed, and he's possibly thinking of starting a family. Those are things that you start thinking about when you're 33 years old and you're looking at the future. And so my guess is that that's where he's moving towards, rather than continuing to pursue professional sports.
Yeah, I know he's just written a children's book that's just come out as well. Any idea, possibly commentary, calling games, that kind of thing?
You know what? He's been very good at it at ESPN, calling college games. And just being an analyst for the SEC, he's been very good at it. And he's very passionate about it. That's one of the things I can say he's very passionate about. And so I could very well see him continuing down that lane in junction with a lot of the other things he has going on.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean. I want to remind you folks that you can watch more sports stories and news with Sean each weekend on Going the Distance. And, of course, you can find that on Saturdays at 6:30 and on Sundays at 7:30. It's all right here on CBN NewsWatch. Thank you so much for joining us today. Make this a fabulous Friday, and be sure to have yourself a wonderful weekend. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us at the address right there at the bottom of your screen. It's newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We would love to hear from you. Again, thank you so much for watching. It's been great keeping you company all week long. We look forward to seeing you right back here, same time come Monday. Goodbye. God bless.